The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning, everybody. It is 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen, and we begin now with our coverage of the Sierra snowmelt and an update to one of our top stories over the weekend. The fourth and final member of a group of rafters has successfully been rescued from the Kern River. It all happened yesterday afternoon. Deputies and rescue crews got the call that 4 rafters were stuck in the river near Hobo Campground. At first, deputies said they were only able to pull 3 rafters out of the water. One of them was still stranded late yesterday afternoon. But overnight, the Kern County Sheriff's Office told us that the 4th rafter was brought back to shore safely. Deputies say all of the rafters were in good health after they were brought back to shore. Meantime, this morning, Isabella Lake's water level is on its way up after those hot temperatures we saw over the weekend. Right now, the lake is at about 83% capacity. That's up 3% from Friday. That's according to reports from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Prior to Friday, it took 2 whole weeks to increase that same amount, as below average temperatures in May and June slowed Sierra snow melt off. There is still quite a bit of snow left sitting in our mountains across California. Meantime, another rescue turned recovery will have to wait. Deputies say it could be a month before crews can go in and retrieve the body of a drowned kayaker from the raging waters. Last week, 5 professional kayakers lost their equipment on the river and fell out of their raft near Kernville. Crews were able to rescue 4, but the 5th kayaker is presumed dead. He's believed to still be in his kayak, which is stuck on branches and tipped upside down amid the rapids. Deputies say it's in a spot where it's just too dangerous to recover his body right now.
Is tipped over, almost completely submerged in water. It's kind of stuck between a bunch of branches, and so it's in a very tough spot to get to.
The name of that kayaker has not been released. Making news around the state, it could be one of the hottest races at the state election polls next year. A big question on many voters' minds: who will replace longtime Senator Dianne Feinstein? Capitol correspondent Etan Wallace takes a look at the latest survey to find the answer.
Among the Californians who have made up their minds, this is a very tight race, but the poll also shows nearly half of voters still need more time.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Barbara Lee, Adam Schiff, and Katie Porter. All 3 major Democratic candidates hitting the campaign trail, vying to win the Senate seat long held by the retiring Dianne Feinstein. In this just-released Inside California Politics and Emerson College poll, Adam Schiff and Katie Porter are in a virtual tie at the top. Schiff is narrowly leading with 15% compared to Porter's 14%. Lee comes in third at just over 6%.
That's incredibly close.
Emerson College professor of survey research Camille Mumford helped facilitate the poll. She points out the survey found support for the top 2 contenders differs between different demographic groups.
We did see Schiff support was more male, and it was more over 65, whereas Katie Porter's numbers, she did have more support among the 18 to 34-year-old bloc and younger female voters.
The survey also found the Republican candidates in the race each are at 4% or lower, but perhaps most strikingly, the results showed with about 8 months to go until the March primary, nearly half of Californians still have yet to make up their minds on any candidate.
My takeaway from this poll, which I find very credible with its methodology, is that voters are largely undecided. But what's really telling is when you put all the no-name Republicans on there, none of them are polling away with Republican vote. So I think what you see is a very good chance that no-name Republicans mean you have a top 2 finish of Democrats in the primary, which of course means the general election would be a choice between 2 Democrats.
Among the undecided voters, the plurality said they are leaning toward Republican James P. Bradley or Barbara Lee, with 17% saying someone else. As for the major 3 leading Democratic candidates, Democratic strategist Ed Emerson, no relation to Emerson College, explains what it will take for the eventual winner to cross the finish line.
It's going to come down to 3 things. How much money can you raise? Who can pick up major endorsements? What will you do? Not what you have done. They all 3 have great records. How you set yourself apart from others is all the different issues that are out there. You need to appeal and you need to work very hard. And these are 3 very hard working folks.
Reporting from the state capitol, Etan Wallace, 17 News.
And this morning, turning to a scary scene along the Canyon Road. You can see the aftermath of that car rolling off Highway 178. It happened Saturday afternoon. The car finally came to a stop on top of rocks off the roadway. No word yet on the cause of the crash or the extent of the injuries. And in other headlines, a driver was hospitalized after crashing with a Bakersfield police patrol car. The crash happened yesterday afternoon on New Stein Road, and police say the driver made an unsafe lane change before crashing into the patrol car's front passenger side. The officer inside the patrol car was not hurt, but the other driver was taken to Kern Medical for treatment. And turning now to a traffic alert for you. All northbound lanes on Highway 99 are back open, but more closures are coming this week as construction work continues through the heart of downtown. The closure is between Ming Avenue and Highway 58 interchange. The road work will continue each night this week through Thursday from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. as crews remove temporary construction fixtures. And turning to news from around the nation, President Biden is ramping up his re-election campaign, heading to California to rally support. The president's touting his accomplishments while Republicans are forced to reckon with the legal troubles of the GOP frontrunner, former President Trump. NBC's Bree Jackson is in Washington with the latest.
President Biden once again taking his campaign message on the road this week after holding his first major political rally in Pennsylvania Saturday.
We've created 13 million new jobs since I became president. That's more jobs in a little over 2 years than any president's created in one 4-year term.
As the president promoted his economic message, his Republican rivals took aim at him and his predecessor, former President Trump.
Donald Trump's position on the national debt is identical to Joe Biden's.
Trump is the early frontrunner for the GOP nomination, despite his legal troubles, including a federal indictment against him.
This guy is the worst manager in the history of the American presidency.
I think that he should drop out. Clearly, he's not going to. This is going to be decided by the voters.
With a crowded field for voters to choose from, other conservative candidates are seeking to separate themselves from the pack.
We've developed a culture of losing in this party where we've had 3 successive elections with substandard results.
We're not talking about red or blue, black and white. We're talking about the future, not the past. I provide the necessary incentive to bring people to the table so that we get the job done.
Presidential candidates hitting the campaign trail with the same goal in mind, convincing voters they're the best pick for the job. And today, President Biden will hold a number of campaign events in California and deliver remarks on his administration's efforts to combat climate change. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Today is the nation's newest federal holiday. It's Juneteenth. People all across the country took part in celebrations over the weekend. Many of the festivities included live performances, activities for children, guest speakers, and barbecue. The Juneteenth holiday has been sacred to many black communities as it marks the day in 1865 when enslaved people in Galveston, Texas found out they'd been freed after the end of the Civil War. So a great day to celebrate, a great occasion. Today's Juneteenth. A lot of people have the day off. One person was killed and another was injured when a shooting broke out at a San Diego park during a Juneteenth celebration Saturday evening. This happened at NTC Park Saturday night. Police say it all stemmed from a dispute between 2 people. One person was pronounced dead at the scene. At least one other victim was hurt and taken to the hospital. Investigators have not provided any information on the shooter, and an investigation is ongoing.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.